Good evening. This is Wilford J. Kramer.
The John Bressmer Company, Springfield store of fashion prestige, is pleased to present again the radio edition of Upon Reflection with Wilford J. Kramer. Upon Reflection is presented regularly at this time each Tuesday and Thursday evening as a public service feature of the John Bressmer Company, a Springfield institution for over 90 years. These broadcasts are prepared for exclusive broadcast over WCVS by Wilford J. Kramer, who also conducts a column on the editorial page of the Illinois State Journal. Now for the John Bressmer Company and your listening pleasure, here is Wilford J. Kramer.
This is the voice of the John Bressmer Company, speaking to you tonight in the quiet of a May evening in 1948, carrying on a tradition which for 90 years has been a part of Springfield. This voice, like the spirit of the store and the loyalty of its 225 employees, has not been destroyed by the bolt of lightning which early Sunday morning stabbed the heart of the store in downtown Springfield, leaving it by midday a gaunt, smoking hulk without an item of saleable merchandise within. Yes, the six-story building which John Bressmer built in 1905 at 613 East Adams Street is completely gutted by flame, while even now the engineers and architects ponder its final disposition. You know this fact by now. Perhaps you were even part of the sober crowd which gathered Sunday in the rain to watch helplessly as the store burned. You know it with another wave of realization now, after hearing the familiar theme and the opening announcement of this program, even as Sunday you sat beside your radio, reading the full-page ad of the John Bressmer Company, while the news announcers described the inferno. It is a crushing thing which we would rather not believe. How many times during the last 2 days have we tried to wish the John Bressmer Company store back into existence? How often we have recalled our associations with the institution and grappled for some straw of chance or design which might have saved it from destruction. Yet we know human design could not have saved it. A power beyond earthly control shot the fatal bolt and stunned a community. This is the voice of the John Bressmer Company, mingling now in the evening air with countless thoughts about the store. Only the voice, an evanescent, intangible quantity, vibrating alike in your parlor and the interior of the fire-blackened store. Were there a radio set located amidst the ruins, it could release this voice through the twilight haze of thin smoke and tearful memory which permeates the building. What can this single voice bring you tonight? What besides despair can it distill from the wreckage of a splendid, thriving institution? Many things indeed. Gratitude, for one. Miss Mary Bressmer, president of the company, Mr. O.L. Parr, general manager and treasurer, J.A. Parr, assistant manager and personnel director, and 225 employees from department heads to elevator operators feel this gratitude, and they want it expressed. All are grateful for the overwhelming response of customers, suppliers, business associates, and friends to the spiritual needs of this crucial time. O.L. Parr, speaking simply in the plain language of one truly touched, has said time and again, "I didn't know we had so many friends. Springfield has been awfully good to us. We appreciate this very deeply, and we hope to get back in business immediately." Yes, gratitude survives the Holocaust, and other valuable assets, too. Loyalty, for instance. Although he has said it many times before in years past, O.L. Parr's statement yesterday about his employees was dramatized by severe circumstance. Said Mr. Parr, "We have without a doubt the finest and most loyal organization ever gotten together. About half of our people have been a part of Bressmer's for 20 years or more, while many have service records of from 25 to 40 years. All have been loyal in this emergency. They've all been grand. Yes, Mr. Parr, they have been grand. In small groups they have gathered in the alley near the shipping entrance, where so many mornings they have entered to begin the working day. They have stood there in the doorway of the temporary Bressmer office across the alley in the old register building, and have peered into the gloomy wreckage, remembering their station, their counter, recalling routines of a working lifetime. They have found it most difficult of all to believe what has happened. The shock which has affected them is deep, soul deep. Some of them may joke as they stand about, finding in a joke release for deeper emotions. But the loss of the store is far from a joke. It's a deep personal loss to each of them. Not only have they been placed in economic jeopardy, but also they have seen an intricate framework of old and treasured associations suddenly destroyed. Time and again, as the heavy hand of idle time weighs upon their shoulders, Bressmer employees shake their heads and say, "That place was home to me." These are the loyal employees who have been assured 2 weeks' salary and have been encouraged to await the decisions of engineers and architects over the fate of the Bressmer building. Meanwhile, there is not even the blessing of work for the clerical staff in sorting out the financial problems of the store, in making out again the thousands of monthly statements which were not mailed in time to escape the flames. For the fireproof vaults must cool for a few days before they may be opened. The John Bressmer Company hopes to reopen for business in the immediate future at some temporary address, while a new home is being built for Springfield's store of fashion prestige. This is the voice of the John Bressmer Company, a slender yet continuing force, binding together the management, employees, and loyal customers of the store in yet another and stronger force for rebirth. Rising from the ruins, nourished by gratitude and deepened by loyalty, is a new force, determination. The entire Bressmer staff, the many suppliers of merchandise to the John Bressmer Company, more than 20,000 regular customers, and thousands more who recognize the store's part in community life, are determined that a new store will evolve from this period of stress. None can conceive that a store founded in 1857, numbering Abraham Lincoln among its early customers, continuing for almost a century to bring rugs, tapestries, furniture, lovely gowns, rare perfumes, household goods, and thousands of other items to Springfield, could be completely and finally destroyed. Bressmer's history has been part of Springfield, part of Illinois, and the nation. Its founder, John W. Bressmer, started work at 15, sweeping out for early Springfield merchants. In 1857, John Bressmer took over as sole proprietor of his own store and started the Bressmer tradition on the west side of the county square. By 1881, Bressmer's had moved to new quarters on the southeast corner of the square and was widely known as the store with the most selling space of any dry goods and carpet establishment outside of Chicago. In 1905, the present structure was built with wide footings and plans for the future, which included several more stories above the present 6. Sam Haynes was the architect. John and Charles Bressmer were the guiding personalities. John Bressmer died in 1914, and Charles Bressmer died in 1925, at which time O.L. Parr became general manager and treasurer of the store. Miss Mary Bressmer is president of the company, carrying on in the family tradition. This tradition is widely cherished and widely respected throughout Illinois by other merchants. A telegram received from Joseph Meek, Executive Secretary of the Illinois Retail Federation, expresses the confidence of the merchant fraternity in the indestructibility of the Bressmer tradition. Mr. Meek said, "I know you will build from these ashes an even greater monument to a great family, a great president, and loyal employees and customers of a great store. There were other telegrams, too, from Glendenning and McLeish, suppliers of fine Irish linens to Bressmer's for more than 60 years, from Kentucky Looms, makers of infants' wear and hand-knit goods, from Edward L. Hammond, Belleville merchant, from Edgar C. Hyman Company of New York, suppliers of imported scarves for the ladies of Springfield, from H.T. Willis, Champaign, Illinois, who operates a time-honored institution, and many others. There was sympathy and reassurance from Joseph C. Speece of Elgin, Illinois, and a message of sincere concern from Asmus Bradley Company, suppliers of yarn, needlework, and fancy linens for the sewing rooms of Springfield homes. From the Imperial Pearl Syndicate, from Spiegel Brothers Artificial Flowers Manufacturers, and the Mark Cross Company were other telegrams which offered services, conveyed regrets, and imparted new courage in this time of disaster. But most impressive of all, there was an unbroken pattern throughout Springfield and central Illinois of chagrin over the fire, and an almost tangible mass hope that Bressmer's would rise again from the ashes at 613 East Adams Street. Within the 3 days since lightning struck the store, this surging of thought and emotion has become almost a demand on the part of the public that Bressmer's open for business again. For what would a day's shopping be without a trip through the familiar revolving doors, and the chant of elevator operators saying, "First floor, cosmetics, accessories, stationery, and jewelry. Second floor, children's wear, bolt goods, art and needlework. Third floor, ladies' ready-to-wear. Fourth floor, rugs and draperies, offices. Fifth floor, furniture." Yes, all these things are gone for the moment, but they must return. This is the voice of the John Bressmer Company. It will continue as before, sponsored as a public service by the store which exists now only in the skill and loyalty of its employees and the affection of its customers. This voice will continue even as the Bressmer tradition, in suspended animation, awaiting a new edifice to be stocked with fine goods and wares. No vagrant shard of lightning, no searing flame, no buckling of steel girders can destroy a concept of service genuinely conceived and faithfully maintained for almost a century. Here in our ability to survive physical destruction and build again is the divine secret of life in Springfield, in Illinois, in the nation and the world. Without this heritage, we would be lost, but with it, we are certain to succeed. This, then, is the voice of the John Bressmer Company, coming to you on a spring evening in 1948, still heavy with shock, but expressing the determined hope of thousands that a new Bressmer's will soon be ready to serve the community.
You have just heard Wilford J. Kramer in another broadcast of Upon Reflection. This evening devoted entirely to the program's sponsor, the John Bressmer Company. You are urged to turn in regularly to Wilford J. Kramer's broadcast, which will be heard as usual each Tuesday and Thursday evening over WCVS. Although the John Bressmer Company was laid waste by a $2 million fire early Sunday morning, it will continue to sponsor Upon Reflection as a part of its civic responsibility. Wilford J. Kramer will be heard just as before, dealing with community topics, bringing guests before the microphone, and reporting on human affairs. Wilford J. Kramer and the management of WCVS wish to state publicly their admiration of a business firm which in its darkest hour is still intimately concerned with the welfare of Springfield and Central Illinois.